First, the high points of the news. The federal government has condemned attack on Plateau and vows to restore normalcy. The Nigerian army has denied reports that it invaded the residence of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, in Abia State. This is the Anglican Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN television. You're welcome to the news on the hour. I am Fulusho Taiwo. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed sadness over attack on a community in Plateau, saying it is unacceptable for anyone or group of people to take laws into their hands, regardless of the situation. He noted that communities in Plateau have over the time worked towards peace building, and the recent attack is only a drawback which the government as well as security agencies will fight against. The president, who made this known on Saturday, stated that law enforcement agencies are already working to apprehend the perpetrators of the attack that led to the death of 20 persons. According to eyewitnesses, the attack, which occurred on Friday, may have been a reprisal allegedly carried out by suspected herdsmen following an earlier dispute between themselves and the villagers. Apart from the 20 who were killed, many others were said to have sustained gunshot wounds, as well as deep cuts from machetes, and the victims were 6 children. The reformed Niger Delta Avengers (RNDA), in coalition with 9 other militant groups, has vowed to plunge Nigeria into another economic recession if urgent steps were not taken to address issues facing the region. The militants said they will resume attacks that will further deepen the nation's woes if the Nigerian government continues to explore oil from their region without developing it. RNDA, in a statement by its convener and self-acclaimed Major General John Mark Ezombe, also announced the lifting of the suspension placed on former Federal Commissioner for Information and leader of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, Chief Edwin Clark. The Nigerian government has no plans to make new legislations to tackle the alarming increase in hate speech in the public space. Rather, it will rely on existing anti-terrorism laws. Information Minister Lai Mohammed made this clarification during an interactive session with broadcast editors in Abuja. The issue of Nnamdi Kanu and his IPOB movement also came to the fore, but Mohammed clarified that while the federal government cannot revoke his bail, it will wait until its next bail hearing to make its position before the High Court. He was also quick to dispel the arguments of those he described as naysayers who insist that Nigeria's recent exit from recession is mere statistics. The information minister was emphatic that Nigeria's bounce back is due to painstaking and diligent application of the economic recovery and growth plan. He expressed optimism that this is but the beginning of slow and steady growth of the Nigerian economy, which will have a positive impact on the Nigerian people in a not distant time. The Nigerian army has denied reports that it invaded the residence of the self-acclaimed leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, in Abia State. This follows claims by supporters of the IPOB leader on Sunday that some soldiers opened fire on the residents who came out on sighting an armored personnel carrier, the 14th Brigade Nigerian Army, or Hafia. However, said it was the residents that threw stones at the military officers. In a statement issued by its Assistant Director of Public Relations, Major Oyegoke Gbadamosi, the brigade denied reports that it invaded KANU'S home or killed anybody. Major Gbadamosi, however, said troops fired warning shots in the air to disperse the protesters, stating that no life was lost. He used the opportunity to warn mischief makers threatening the peace and security of the country through falsehood to desist from such. The Abia State Police Command also confirmed the incident, saying the situation was brought under control without any loss of life. A statement issued by the Public Relations Officer Geoffrey Ogbonna said a policeman was also injured during the clash. Health workers under the aegis of the Nigerian Union of Allied Health Professionals and the Joint Health Sector Unions have threatened to embark on a nationwide strike by September 30. The unions, in a statement signed by the National President Obinna Ogbonna and the National Secretary Mr. Ayinde Obishesan, accused the federal government of prioritizing the demands of doctors in its employ above those health workers. According to them, many of their members have also been denied salary, arrears, and emoluments, which they said the federal government is now addressing with the striking doctors. Doctors under the aegis of the National Association of Resident Doctors began a nationwide strike on September 3 to protest the non-payment and cuts in their salaries and arrears. The aggrieved health workers are also demanding the implementation of the Inter-Ministerial Subcommittee report on critical matters in the sector, professional autonomy, and appointments of consultants and payment of specialist allowance to their members. We shall now go on a short commercial break before we bring the rest of the news to you. Please stay with us.
On the program this week, our Bible reading is taken from John chapter 15 verse 5, which says, I am the vine, ye are the branches. Whoever abideth in me and I in him, the same.
You're welcome back. We encourage you to follow us on our social media platforms for our interesting programs and activities. Search and like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at ACNN Television. For inquiries and suggestions, write to acnntv@gmail.com or our WhatsApp number or showing on your screen. You can also be part of our news crew by sending us studies and pictures of events happening in your local church or diocese, as we promise to use them well. And now to some foreign news. The Global South movement leaders have stated that the Anglican Communion is not very well, though not yet dead. They observed this in a meeting held in Cairo, hosted by the Bishop of Egypt, the Right Reverend Mounir Anis. The Archbishop discussed the state of the Communion and voiced their concerns over the effectiveness of its instruments of unity, codified by a task force appointed by the Anglican Consultative Council that issued its final report at a 1998 meeting at Virginia Theological Seminary. The Virginia report recommended the Communion organize itself around 4 instruments: the Archbishop of Canterbury, the PRIMATES meeting, the Lambeth Conference, and the Anglican Consultative Council. The 1998 Lambeth Conference, however, declined to adopt the report, and confidence in the scheme has fallen sharply over the past 2 decades, with various provinces giving different degrees of authority to their pronouncements, joining Dr. Anis at All Saints Cathedral, while the primates of Southeast Asia, Myanmar, Uganda, Congo, South America, Nigeria, Rwanda, West Africa, Bangladesh, Sudan, and the Anglican Church in North America. In another development, the Archbishop of Uganda, the Most Reverend Stanley Ntagali, says he will not attend Archbishop Justin Welby's Primatial Summit next month in Canterbury due to the consecration of the tech bishop, Jane Robinson. He describes it as the breaking point for the Anglican Communion and a tear in communion at its deepest level that has never been repaired. Archbishop Ntagali says that as both GAFCON and the Global South have recognized the current instruments of communion are broken and are not serving the cause of Christ through Anglicanism. The evangelical Archbishop said the Anglican Communion's reason for being has much more substance than meeting, but if there is to be a meeting, it should be because of everyone has agreed to be yoked to Jesus and to walk together on his narrow path that leads to life. Ntagali said the relationships within GAFCON give a glimpse of the future of an Anglicanism that meets because of a communion faith in Jesus Christ and his word, and a communion mission, a common mission to share the gospel of Christ crucified and risen of the whole world. These things, he said, are captured very well in Jerusalem Declaration, which is why he believes its use as a unifying confession of faith is the future of global Anglicanism. The General Synod of the Anglican Church of Australia has acknowledged that relationship with the Scottish Episcopal Church has been impaired by the sex removal of gender from its canons of marriage. In June, the General Synod of the Scottish Episcopal Church voted in favor of altering the Church's canon of marriage to remove the definition that marriage is between a man and a woman, thereby allow same-sex couples to marry in church. The Scottish primus said that the movement is church now affirms that a same-sex couple is not just married, but is married in the sight of God. But this move is in contravention of the doctrine of marriage in the Anglican Church and breaches the Lambeth Resolution of 1998. The Dean of Sydney, Kanishka Raphael, moved a motion at the General Synod meeting in Queensland, which had earlier reaffirmed that marriage is between a man and a woman. In seconding, Archdeacon David Bassett of Adelaide said that the motion was not about whether government will legalize same-sex marriage or not, but about the doctrine of the church and the teachings of the Bible on marriage. The motion, however, praised that the Scottish Episcopal Church will return to the doctrine of Christ in this matter and that impaired relationships will be restored. Bishop Todd Hunter of Acnntv has expressed profound satisfaction in what he called spiritually matured manner in which Archbishop Foley Beach designed and conducted deliberations concerning ordination of women. He made this known after returning from attending the College of Bishops conclave on the ordination of women to the priesthood. He said the conclave was quiet, sincere, and godly, and bishops collaborated with one another in an overall atmosphere of love, respect, and honesty. He was thankful that outcome of the conclave permits the Diocese of Churches for the Sake of Others, also known as C4SO, to continue the practice of ordaining women of character and integrity as priests and deacons. This, he said, will enable them to serve in whatever way their spiritual gifts, calling, and temperament are needed. He affirmed that he is proud serving alongside women for the fact that they show extraordinary patience and grace, especially during a particularly difficult period of waiting to receive the outcome of this conclave. He, however, encouraged those who have grudges and oppose women's ordination to priesthood to feel free to attend C4SO2 as the diocese celebrates the unity shown in their constitution. The Diocese of Christ Church Synod has voted to reinstate Christ Church Cathedral in the square rather than replace or give away the historic building. The Synod took one Synod member, one vote, ballots close to midday on 10 September, and it achieved an absolute majority of 59.9% on the first round. The decision was immediately confirmed by Synod, which was almost unanimous, by one dissenting voice. Bishop Victoria Matthews expressed delight that the Synod came to a clear decision. She said it was a superb Synod where there could have been rancor and name-calling. Instead, there was deep respect. Synod members with very different opinions spoke to one another with grace and dignity. Reverend Dr. Peter Carrell, who was also a delegate, reacted to the results, saying that the Synod has chosen not only to restore the building, but more importantly, to restore relationships between the church and the city of Christ Church. He enthused that worshippers can rejoice that the move from living around a derelict building to a site that will again be transformed into a place of prayer and worship. A Broadway producer has joined the Prince of Wales in pledging financial support to restore St. Paul's Anglican Pro-Cathedral in Valletta on the island of Malta. The 175-year-old cathedral needs £3 million to restore its tall 60-meter spire and stonework. The parish website reports the fundraising appeal launched in February has raised £490,000. Theoretical producer Cameron McIntosh, who maintains a home in Valletta property and whose mother was of Maltese descent, last week pledged £100,000 to the restoration campaign led by Save the Valletta Skyline Restoration Appeal. Last month, the appeal committee reported the Prince of Wales had made a generous personal donation to the campaign. The campaign, which commenced on February 9, the eve of the Feast of St. Paul's shipwreck in Malta, will conclude in November on the 175th anniversary of the cathedral's founding. The parish website reports the pro-cathedral was built between 1839 and 1844 on the initiative of the Queen Dowager Adelaide, widow of King William IV, and the aunt of Queen Victoria. The cathedral is dedicated to St. Paul, considered to be the spiritual father of the Maltese nation. At least 6 people have been killed after heavy rainstorms and flooding in the Italian city of Livorno. 4 members of a family were killed when their basement apartment flooded. Italian newspaper Il Tirreno reports that 2 parents and their son died. One girl was rescued by her grandfather, but he died when he returned to attempt for his other family members. The newspaper said pictures from the city showed large areas underwater and extensive damage. One resident, Piero Catturelli, said he had never seen such bad weather. The flooding caused extensive damage to property in Livorno. Filippo Nogarin told the AFP news agency that the extent of the flooding was completely unexpected, as only an orange alert was issued. The city in Tuscany was the worst hit, but weather warnings have been issued for much of the country. Precautions have been taken in the capital, Rome, where the highest level of alert is in place. To end the news on the hour, the high points of the news once again. The federal government has condemned the attack on Plateau and vows to restore normalcy. It is unacceptable for anyone or group of people to take laws into their hands, regardless of the situation. The Nigerian Army has denied reports that it invaded the residence of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, in Abia State. And so that's it on this edition of the news on the hour. We want to thank you, and thank you profusely for watching. I am Fulusho Taiwo. Please mend it. Don't end it in a hurry. God bless you.